I am live. Welcome back, everyone, to Tuesday night Q&A. I'm your host, Dr. Andi. I am a doctor of chiropractic and a certified animal chiropractor. I've been in clinical practice over 20 years, specializing in canines. So we're going to talk chiropractic. We're going to talk other things that can help with inflammation, reducing inflammation, reducing the aging process, and answer any of your questions you may have. My disclaimer is I'm not a veterinarian, and none of this is veterinarian advice. You need to speak with your veterinary practitioner before implementing anything. And I've got to say, over the last 20 years, most of everything I've learned from my clients. So welcome back. I had a little break over the summer, so thank you for grace on that. And for my regulars out there, I'm in a different location in my house. The office downstairs got turned into an extra bedroom, and some furniture came upstairs to my working office, and I am attempting to do this here. So hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. We are going to work on maybe getting some doors up because right now I launched my pack into the bedroom. They are listening to ZZ Top as we speak. Not my fave, but a lot of people like them. Hello, Jamile. How are you? Thank you for joining me. Okay. We're going to kind of change up the format. We're going to kind of go fast and furious. We're going to have 30 minutes here every Tuesday, most every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is Denver time, which is where I practice in the western suburbs. And if you haven't, there's been lots of changes around Animal Magic. The YouTube channel name has actually changed to Animal Magic Care. We're trying to, all that marketing stuff that also goes along with running a business. It fascinates me, but also not my favorite. And so we're trying to rebrand and recreate and kind of tighten everything up. So you'll notice some changes in the email format. So if you are not on my email, I attempt to send out content. I like to think it's interesting content every week. Every Tuesday that comes out. I'm here every Tuesday evening. If you want to get on that email list, I know who wants another email, but there are some that I always read. And so if that's something of interest, head over to animalmagiccare.com. and scroll down, I think the homepage, and it's at the bottom. You can sign up there. We generally only send out one email a week. Occasionally you'll get an extra one, but we really try not to bombard you with that. All my clients that are lucky enough to be here in the Denver area and come in, you do want to check those emails out. There's also office hours that I'll be closed, upcoming announcements, new services offered at Animal Magic. So check that out. And we have more changes coming down the pipe. All right. Housekeeping. Anything else housekeeping? I think that's it. So welcome to the Now Animal Magic YouTube channel. Go ahead and if you have any questions on anything, please put them in the chat. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. I have my pen and paper for my homework. I'll go see if I can go find the answer for next week because I love learning new stuff too. And that's how we roll around here. But I did want to talk a little bit about the history of animal chiropractic, a little bit of history of regular chiropractic. I mean, chiropractic's been around for over 100 years. It was I believe, the 1880s, I think, when D.D. Palmer adjusted Harvey Lilith, who was a janitor, and his hearing improved. And I was going through this, and I'm like, from the very first, what we now call adjustment, to opening the first chiropractic school, 2 years. 2 years. I'm trying to think. I think it was 1895 and then 1897, they opened up the Palmer School of Chiropractic. 2 years. How'd they do that? They had no internet. How did people even learn about chiropractic back then? How did someone learn about it and then, I'm going to go get my degree in that and treat people? And how does that even work back then, right? Like, I have no concept. So that was fascinating. I did learn that. And then D.D. Palmer's son, BJ, was the one that really expanded chiropractic. I guess he had a radio show, and he kind of was like this Barnum and Bailey of chiropractic. Like, he was very charismatic from what they say, and he talked about it and was on the he had a weekly radio, and they had all these like newsletters and all kinds of stuff that they talked about. They spread chiropractic around. But it was the early 1900s that they incorporated a animal clinic. They're like, they have spines, they have vertebrae, they have vertebral facets. Animals have all these things, so they must benefit from chiropractic care too. They must benefit from the change into the nervous system. And so they had a clinic at the school in the early 1900s. So animal chiropractic is not new. It's been around for a very long time. And at one point you could get a doctor of chiropractic veterinary or chiropractic veterinary. It was a DCV or DVC if you went to Palmer. So being certified in animal chiropractic is about 100 years old. And so when clients come to me with their animals for the very first time and they're like, I never even knew you existed, I'm like, I give them a hard time. I'm like, yep, only been doing it 20 years. And now I can say, only been around 100 years. But it wasn't until 1986 when Dr. Sharon Willoughby put her, to the grindstone. She's the one. She's kind of the one we attribute starting or formulating or structuring animal chiropractic. And she was first a veterinarian, and then she's had some cases. And I love when practitioners really pay attention to their clients. Like I say, I learned most of everything I've ever learned was from my clients. What they went through, how their animals reacted to something, what changed or didn't change, what was going on, all of this. Like, I learned it from my clients. You learn the books in school, but you learn real life in real life, right? And so I learned from my clients, and she would have these cases that she was frustrated with, would be adjusted, and then things would change or get better. I don't know the particulars. And so her heart was really what was best for the animal. So she went to chiropractic school. She went to Palmer College of Chiropractic and graduated, went on to be on the faculty, went on to get very involved in chiropractic, and she let her veterinary license go. I did not know. I did not know this part. And so when she opened her animal chiropractic practice back in the 80s, early 90s, she was practicing without her veterinary license. She was practicing chiropractic, and she was getting great success. People were taking notice, and they're like, why is she doing this? She is not a veterinarian. And so I guess there was a lot of court battles, a lot of stuff. Hi, Miss Keisha. A lot of stuff that she had to deal with, which I didn't realize I knew she went to vet school, and I knew she went to chiropractic school. I knew she was a DVM and a DC. I assumed she kept both those licenses in place, and so she could, not that creating a school is easy, but could easily transverse the vet chiro world and get the very first animal chiropractic school since the 1900s together here in the U.S. She didn't. She had let her veterinary license go. She was strictly practicing under her chiropractic license. She eventually had that taken away from her. I don't know all those details, but she did organize and start what I believe is the first animal chiropractic school certification program in the U.S. since back in the day, and that was Options for Animals, which is where I went. She started that, I don't know the dates, let's say 1990, something like that. So, folks, that's only, 33 years ago? Not that long ago. I was there in when was I there? 2002. So I did not meet Dr. Willoughby. She had left a few years prior to that, and she had turned it over to some of her students. There are now a handful of certification programs across the country that either a chiropractor or a veterinarian can go and learn animal chiropractic. And so, yeah, and she has since passed away. I knew she moved up to Alaska at one point. Disappointing, I never got to meet her, but I'm so grateful for her and her tenacity and her courage. I don't know. I think I'm kind of a big wimp. I don't know if I would take on those legal battles. Like how much easier would it have been for her to just get her veterinary license back? But like I said, I haven't met her. From what I've read, that was her heart, that it was chiropractic care. It's not the conventional veterinary care that's making changes in animals, and she wanted to do what was best for the animals. Talk about a pioneer. Absolutely, Keisha. Any questions, pop them in. Otherwise, we're going to have a short evening. God knows I can sit here and rattle on, but that is not what we're going to do on Tuesday night. If they're super short, they're super short. If they're super long, they're going to be super long. And I really just wanted to talk about Dr. Sharon Willoughby a little bit, and a little bit of where animal chiropractic came from, because everybody just thinks it's so new, and I'm a guest on Dee Dee Mercer-Moffat's podcast every week, and she is the CEO of Raw Dog Food and Company, and she has this podcast called Raw Dog Food Truth. I butcher it all the time, and I'm so sorry, Dee Dee, if you ever see this. That's not my intention at all. The Raw Dog Food Truth podcast. Once I get it, I get it. And we were talking a little bit about the history and a little bit of what I do to maintain what I can do with the animals, because I have to maintain my licensure as a doctor of chiropractic, and I have to maintain an additional certification program, which is 250 credit hours above and beyond that degree. And it's continuing ed every year. And I would still do it because I love to learn things, and I want to know what's the cutting edge of stuff with my profession. But it's mandated. Like, we have a lot to do and learn and be to be animal chiropractors. It's not a weekend course, folks. We're not out here just banging away randomly on joints. There are ways to palpate. There's ways to, watch gait. There's a way, how animals move. And did I know that out of the gate? No. Do I have some experience after 20 years? A little bit. Is there still more to learn? Absolutely. So thank you, Dr. Sharon Willoughby. Animal chiropractic is not new. And if it's not part of your animal's healthcare team, Google it, basically. Take a look on the internet, see who's in your area, talk to your veterinarian. You can go to the ABCA. They have a list, but not everybody is ABCA certified, nor do they have to be. So that's the catch with those organizations. My favorite advice to people, if you're having trouble finding a certified animal chiropractor in your area, is to call your state chiropractic association. Like here, it's the Colorado Chiropractic Association. Call them up. They should have an idea that here they have a list. They know exactly who's out there. and they can help you with that. So that's one of the places to go, but you start with your veterinarian. Start with actually the gal that works at the feed store, if you're in that kind of an area, or works at, the high-end pet food place that you buy your Ziwi Peak or your raw food from. You could and you can find somebody in your area that way. Okay. What is the strangest experience I've had adjusting dogs? Okay, I actually have 3, and 2 have been very recently, which, after 20 years, you think you've seen it all, right? My general favorite is when people come in and say their animal doesn't like to be touched. And I'm like, you're in the chiropractor's office. Chiro, hands, we're going to touch your animal. We get around it, usually goes fine, no big deal. That's kind of like a broad one. But oh my gosh, it was such a complicated case. He was fascinating. They've moved away, so I have no idea what he's up to or how he's doing, and hopefully they continued with chiropractic care in their new area. But this might be long. I don't know. I don't know if I can condense this. Okay, so this couple, I saw their previous Labrador. He passed away. They got a puppy. Cool. And they've had the puppy a couple months. I hear through the grapevine. They live in the community I live in. And I finally get to see him. I'm like, you better bring the puppy. I want to meet the puppy. So I meet the puppy. And because I've known them, and sometimes my mouth goes before my brain engages, I'm like, what's wrong with your puppy? It's not really an appropriate thing to say, but I did. He was so splayed out in his front feet. I could tell that he was so front loaded from that. When your dog has so much weight on one foot, it'll compress down and splay out. Both his front feet were like that. The back feet were not. I'm like, we need to get him adjusted. We need to make an appointment. Made an appointment. Okay, cool. And he was, I don't know, 12, 14, 16 weeks. So he was older. There's no age thing on puppies. I regularly see puppies at 6 weeks or 8 weeks before they go home from breeders and stuff like that. So that's not a big deal. So the puppy comes in. We adjust him. He's fascinating. Like I'm just going to keep this as simple as possible. And plus I don't remember all the details. His neuro was so off. Like the conductance from up here in his brain to the rear end, like he just did not know where his rear end. He could not hold still. He was just bouncing around. That actually never really changed. That was part of his personality. And so we had him on a regular program. And for a puppy, that's unusual. Usually I see a puppy and then I'll see in 3-4 months, they mostly bounce, they're going to do dumb puppy stuff and then get them back in here. He was on a regular schedule. And then he got better and he evened out a little bit, and they did some other therapies in there, and it was kind of a big deal. He was not really a well puppy from a neurological standpoint without like having a full-blown diagnosis of something, And then he came back. I think he was, I don't know, maybe 6 months later. So now he's like 1.5 years. He's still intact, which is a really good idea because he's really not 110%. Like we still have some growing to do. This nervous system was under a lot of stress. Okay, back to the question. This is all lead up to the question. What's the strangest experience you've had adjusting dogs? His rear end was so hyper, so overstimulated that trying to adjust his lumbars, he actually, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I can't believe this. Thank you, Ms. Clark. He actually ejaculated like all over my table. And this was 15 years into my career, and Dad's bright red. And he's like, what is going on? I'm like, those Keisha had no idea when she asked that question, right? The nervous system was on such high alert that me just palpating and putting adjustments, putting that impulse into the nervous system in the lumbar spine, it was a mess, honestly. It was fascinating, right? Like dad's completely mortified. It's quite the mess. The dog doesn't care. I am like fascinated, like, holy moly. Dad's like, why? I'm like, I'm guessing that when your nervous system's at threshold and then you put in a little more information via an adjustment, it just sent him over the top. And so that kind of gives you an insight into his nervous system. It was the most fascinating dog. He literally never stopped moving. He was a handful. They finally neutered him at 3. That helped a little bit. It helped a little bit with that, but they wanted to wait as long as they could possibly live with him. Minimal, all the things, right? Worked with a veterinarian, minimal vaccinations, minimal heartworm, like minimal everything. Ended up having to go on thyroid med very early on, like 3. He was not a well dog from day one. He just was not. Why? Was it genetics? Was it a reaction to a medication or a vaccine early on, maybe even before he came to live with them? Was he always the bottom puppy in the puppy pile and his nervous system didn't do what everything it was supposed to do? I don't know. These are things we just never had the answer to. But that was probably the strangest experience I've ever had. And I mean, I've been bit very rarely. I've been pooped on. That happens quite a bit. Old dogs, they're a little fecal incontinent. And then recently, one of my regular clients, we're at the end of the appointment. He's getting ready to make the next appointment and to pay me. And he goes, oh, by the way, I have a pizza being delivered here. So 2 ends of the spectrum of my strangest experience. I'm like, you had a pizza delivered to my house that you're then going to put in the car and take with you. And he did. And I mean, after 20 years, I've never had anyone deliver a pizza. And I've never had another dog ejaculate on my table. So not yet, and so I guess we'll see what the next so many years brings. But the pizza, I'm like, and he waited till like the very end of the appointment, which I thought was even stranger. Instead of going, you know what, I have a pizza coming at this time. I hope that he waits till like the man's walking down my driveway with his pizza. So funny. Really good question with if you're feeding raw and your dog is really skinny, how do you get more weight on? You start with adding some fruits and veggies. You can even maybe do a little bit of your starchy fruits and veggies. So we want some of the carbohydrates. They generally are what pack on the pounds. And then depending on how well that goes or doesn't go, and then you might want to inch your way into maybe some of the starchy potatoes. But we do want to be aware of the carbohydrate load. I stay away from the grains unless you absolutely have to. Oats are notorious for packing on pounds. Like they will fatten up a dog super fast. The vast majority of our grains these days, I got to say, even organic, are so full of the glyphosate. I can say this Roundup, glyphosate, which is causing leaky gut, which can cause other issues. So I would just start with some general fruits and veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, carrots. They're a little higher in the carbs, but not, and as we get into fall, at least in this area, You can get into your squashes, which are a little starchier. And then if you need to, you can go into the potatoes, maybe a little bit of potato here and there during the week. But generally, feeding raw meat and organ meat is not going to put the weight on. It's going to keep the inflammation low. It's going to keep and it's not generally put the weight on. It just generally doesn't. Some dogs, I don't know how they end up fat on raw, but they do. So cook the squash, yes. I don't do a lot of fruits and veggies. I randomly throw stuff in, but when it comes to fall, my old dog loves, like, I don't know how he knows I'm cooking spaghetti squash. It has no smell. He loves spaghetti. I was going to say spaghetti squash. I can't even do it now. I cut it in half and I throw it in the Instapot. Works like a charm. I used to microwave it. Now we pretty much, my microwave's a good timer. Other than that, we don't even use the darn thing. With the digestive aids, need to be adjusted with that as well. If you're doing digestive enzymes, they should also have the enzymes in there for carbohydrates and for vegetables and that. So not necessarily. If you're not doing any kind of digestive enzymes, then you may need to add them in. When I have people transition to raw, I have them start without vegetables. And that could be for a week, that could be for a month, that could be for a couple months. Depending on if we already have GI stuff, if that's your impetus to go raw, which it is a lot of times, is your animal is already having GI stuff. I don't want the vegetables in there in the beginning. I want them to get used to the meat, the organs, and the bone. Now, once we get that under control and we're not getting low verps and we're not getting other signs of heartburn, which isn't a real thing, and blah, 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 and we're doing well with that, then if mom and dad really want to do some vegetables, we start adding in some vegetables. If we are having trouble digesting the raw and we are having trouble digesting the meat and the veggies together, my first step is actually to go to HCl betaine, hydrochloric acid. It generally means the stomach acid is not low enough. We want a 1. We want close to battery acid in our stomachs so we can kill all the pathogens that come in with our food, no matter what the food is. If it's raw, veggies, kibble, whatever, we need pathogens come along for the ride. And we want really low stomach acid, really acidic stomach acid to kill all those. And especially with raw, we need the low stomach acid, very acidic stomach acid, to digest the protein. That works with the pepsinogen, and it really, protein digestion starts in the stomach. And we really need high HCl for that. High HCl production, high acidity, low pH in the stomach. So when you say digestive aids, my head goes to HCl and betaine. HCl, betaine, they kind of go together. And you can get whatever kind that you like, if it's the same one you take. It's hydrochloric acid is hydrochloric acid. Now, turn that bottle over. Look at all the fillers. What else is in there? Because your flow agents and your fillers make up a lot of your products. All right, so we want to keep them to a minimum. And the magnesium stearate actually prevents the body from absorbing most of our supplements, and it's in most of our supplements. So a nice catch, 22. And digestive enzymes. When you say digestive aids, my head does not go to probiotics. It's kind of in there. It's involved. That's more of a microbiome issue. It's kind of, it can go back and forth, right? But digestion, starting the digestion in the stomach, I go to HCl and I go to digestive enzymes. If we have stuff lower and other stuff going on, then we can go into the probiotics. But probiotics do not help with digestion in that stomach. Okay. And then we can go into liver support, because the liver is huge in digestion. And people forget about the poor liver. And that's intimately involved with the gallbladder and the pancreas. The pancreas, right? So there's a lot of moving parts. But when you say digestive enzymes, that's where my head goes. We can discuss probiotics. I go in, most of my clients know this, I go in spurts with probiotics. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they're great, and we're doing them. And then right now we're not doing any, me or my animals. And so, I mean, of course they're involved in digestion, but at that point it's more microbiome and what is your small, large intestine and colon doing. So, natural factors. You found one. Did you find an HCl or a digestive enzyme? And you can never go wrong adding in digestive enzymes. I have yet, I'm going to rephrase that a little bit because, I have yet to see an issue with adding in digestive enzymes. Now, most of the products out there, especially for our animals, I think the thought process is more is better. And you get digestive enzymes and you get prebiotics and you get the probiotics and you get and let's throw in a joint supplement in the whole container. And now you have 20 things in there. And is it helping? Is it not helping? What's helping? Oh, HCl. Okay. Cool, Keisha. So when I say digestive enzymes, you get a digestive enzyme. Now, you may need digestive enzyme and a probiotic, but we have 2 products now. Okay. And then we're going to see what's working, what's not working. When do we add this in? What happens when we added that in? But when you have a big tub of 20 things in it, what's going on with my animal, doc? No idea. No idea. And I had a client in, very interesting case, and we're out of time, so I'm not going to go into that, but it was becoming so stressful and they were doing everything so right. And I really agreed with them. They really were like, they had everything dialed in. I'm like, you know what? We have an MRI, we have an ultrasound, we know what's wrong with him. It's not great. We don't really know the next step just yet. Take him off everything. Feed him his raw food. Enjoy your dog for a week, and let's not worry about it. And just, because the supplement list had gotten so long and this and that, and that sometimes, you know what? Let's stop it all. I currently just got out of a phase with my animals where we stopped it all. And now I put some phytosynergy back in, which is for the omegas, which is for the inflammation. But they're not on that 24/7, 365. Nobody in my house is on anything 24/7, 365. It rotates in, it rotates out. And most of that is just intuition on my part. And I know everybody hates those answers. They hate it. They want their checklist. They want their box. They want to know exactly what they need to do from now until. And sorry, folks. It's not how I roll. I don't think that's how any body, canine or human, work. So yes, a reset can be good every so often. Okay. I think I got everything in the questions. Natural is not clockwork. Correct. Well, and what's really funny is it kind of is. If we follow the Chinese medicine clock on when organs need to be supported, if we follow the lunar cycle, if we follow the seasons, like we can use those clocks, but we don't, right? We use the damn clocks on here and our checklists and our artificial tech in everything, right? But if we got back to nature, got back to natural, got back to seasons, like what's coming up in the fall? Fall's coming up really quick. Do you change your meat types when you feed raw? Do you change your vegetable types? Do you go seasonally? Do your walks shift from early morning to the afternoon? Or do you brave the cold? Like, just because you've always walked at 5 a.m. doesn't mean you always have to walk at 5 a.m. kind of thing, right? All right, my friends, I think I covered all the housekeeping in the beginning. Hopefully you caught that. If not, go back. And I'm so grateful for all of you that are here live. I will be back next week, 6 p.m. on the new Animal Magic channel on YouTube. We'll have a little quick chat. Who knows what I'll come up with next week, but bring your questions. We're going to go fast and furious. We're going to get these done. We're going to knock it out, and we're going to go live our lives, which I'm including a lot more relaxation in. You should too. All right. And head over to animalmagiccare.com. Get on the email list. We've got a lot of new things coming down the pipe. I'm so excited to invite you to. And if you haven't, share this with a friend. And all the usual, you're supposed to hit the little buttons and get the notifications and the little thumbs up and do all the things, please. Because we do want more people to know all the things that are out there, including animal chiropractic care and all the supportive modalities that can go with that. All right, my friends. So grateful for you. Until next week, how much fun can you have with your animals? Bye-bye.